So who wants to have a 2-page order? Ooh. Did you even know that you can have a 2-page order? Has anyone actually experienced where you actually ran out of like lines and you're like, what do I do? And you had to call your manager? Oh, that's fun, huh? How about a 3-page order? What? Those exist? How about a 4-page order? Yeah, now we're talking. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up your eyes to what's possible. I'm going to teach you the fundamentals of the like list. So, has anyone seen someone who has Cutco? Raise your hand. Okay, if you haven't, well, you probably run into them this week. So, Cutco customers are pretty common. I would say in our territory, we get a lot of them because what we do is we give a lot of people jobs, which is a good thing because for you, seeing someone who has Cutco, your average order and your average sales will go up. So that's a good area to be in. A lot of times when I was a manager, people would go, isn't this area saturated or aren't we going to run out of people? No, because Cutco owners always buy more. They're hooked. They're addicted. So what I'm going to teach you is how to master the like list or wish list, as you might have heard it. And you must follow these 3 rules. Number 1 is always call it the like list. We're not genies. We're not trying to grant wishes here. We're trying to help customers buy a ton of freaking Cutco. So what do we call it? Like list, right? So when someone says the wish list, we're going to go, what are you, a genie for Aladdin number 3? Isn't there Aladdin number 2 out? I don't know. You're supposed to laugh. That was just kind of off the cuff. But moving on. Number 2, anyone who has 1 piece of Cutco for your appointments, you might be used to doing a demo, but I'm going to teach you how to actually take that and go right into a like list. So if you might have ran into that one person who has like a paring knife or a trimmer. You maybe didn't know exactly what to do. I'll teach you how to handle that. And number 3 is your goal is to build the like list to $2,000 or more. That's a lot, isn't it? $2,000. And you know what actually might happen to someone tonight? And if you have Facebook, go and post it on my fan page and tell me a big fat order because of this talk. That would be so cool. I'll be fired up for you. Alright, there's 3 ways to master the like list. The first I'm going to teach you is on the demo. The demo. So on the demo, guys, if they own Cutco, you don't have to do rope and leather. So you'll actually start from the guarantee. So some of you might actually are so new, you're like, I didn't know what to really do. They have Cutco. They saw it last year, right? And you'll run into that a lot. If you're in like St. Louis and Kansas City area, some of the smaller towns around Missouri and Kansas will get some good volume too. But this is how I'm going to teach you how to do it. So you start from the guarantee. So what you're going to do is you're going to rebuild up product conviction. So do you think you want to whiz through the guarantee or you might want to spend a few extra minutes? Well, we just cut out 15 minutes of your appointment, so you should at least add an extra 5 minutes on your guarantee. So what would be smart to do? 1 is tell a story. Where do you get stories from? Well, you use your training group stories that your manager told you if you don't have your own stories. But now, when you run into Cutco customers, you have them write a testimonial out for you, and you ask them how did they get their Cutco. Tell me your story. And what you'll run into is some really cool and unique stories, and now you'll actually just build up an arsenal of Cutco stories. Because people buy what other people have and want. By the way, has anyone actually got a testimonial yet this summer? A testimonial is not verbal, it's actually where they write it down. And what I used to do is I used to collect them. My whole book would be a testimonial pretty much. And right under the hunting knife, I would have a sentence. So-and-so from South County has had this knife for 10 years, skinned 10 deers. Because that's more believable than you just telling them, right? And seeing a customer signature. So that would be your mission no matter what, right away, is that any Cutco owner is to get a testimonial. It's another way to actually get into the house for an appointment. Because they might say, oh, I just saw Cutco last year, or I just saw it in the spring. Well, that's okay. Do you actually have an active rep? That's a good way to pay respect and homage to reps like me and Jerry and Nick Najar, and you all probably have 1 or 2 in your office or your manager, because we worked really hard to build our business, and it's not really cool when you actually go out there and say, hey, I sold to one of your customers. Because how would it feel if we actually did that to you? So that might happen to one or two of you. You might run into like a veterans customer. So on the phone you could say, hey, do you actually have a rep you work with? And if they say, no, I bought from a couple years ago, you say, well, let me actually just come over really quick and renew your guarantee and just get a quick testimonial because it'll help me out. And now you get in there, and customers that have Cutco, they buy about 75 to 90% of the time. Are we all with me? Say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, so you tell them to get out everything. Why do you tell them to get out everything? Because customers, what they do is they think they have everything. Who's called someone and they say, I already have all Cutco, or I have everything,
Yes.
or I don't need any more because I have all I need? Well, most of the time they have like a starter set, like a studio, or a trimmer, a petite carver, a spatula, and a paring knife, so something really small. And what I like to do is I like to have it all laid out on the table. One is because you actually run into some really cool stuff. If you ever have the opportunity to get like some vintage Cutco, great idea. How do you get vintage Cutco? Well, you can use your bonus points and kind of give them something for free. And some of you maybe are so new, you'll learn this at advanced training tomorrow. But what you also could do is just ask them if you can maybe buy it off of them. Or for me, I had extra products. So if you guys go to the conferences like SC1, you get that petite carver, and you can use it as trade bait and get old Cutco. Because now what I do at the guarantee section, instead of asking they heard of Cutco, I say, let me just show you this. And it's a knife from 1949. Is that pretty crazy? Where it doesn't even look like the Cutco, but it's still the Cutco. So have you guys seen at least like what this looks like in a picture or maybe in your office? If not, talk to your manager. I'm sure they can pull some good info. Do you guys know that most people actually overuse their paring knife and they use their chef knife the wrong way? So right there, with just a simple switch and teaching them something new, you can at least sell them a 4-inch paring knife and a Santoku or a Hardy slicer. So even without teaching you how to do this, you can add another 200 CPO on every appointment. Because what do you think most people use that paring knife for? This, right on the cutting board. And it'll actually dull it really fast. So what you want to do is you want to actually have them lay out everything. So you go through the guarantee, and anyone have an idea what you would go through next? Well, Santoku is obviously, or Santoku is a new one we're going to hit on later, but we're going to redo the names and uses. Because if they don't have everything, we need to really build value in a new piece. But what you're going to do a little different from your demo is you're going to actually do the names and uses of what they actually have, but less is more. So if they already have a trimmer, should you get all excited about the trimmer and go, this is the best knife ever, you're going to use this on everything, you're going to love it, it's so cool. Because that's going to take your thunder away from selling a cheese knife, or the new trimmer, or an extra trimmer. So basically what you want to do is provide enough value so they understand that you're there to help, but you want to actually kind of give a tutorial of what that piece is used for. So during names and uses, I just go, well, what do you use this one for? What do you like this one for? Why is this one your favorite? Why is this one the one you don't use as much? So now you're collecting information that you can use later. Here's a great word to use on every single appointment. The word is strictly. So Mrs. Customer, this is strictly used for this. This paring knife is strictly used for paring in the air, peeling, topping, coring. Ms. Jones, we call it the air knife because you're not actually supposed to hit a cutting board with it. The second you hit a cutting board, you're going to dull it really fast. And instead of it staying sharp for 3 or 4 years, by the way, that's an off-the-record tip. If you want to be honest and tell your customers the truth, the chef knives and the straight edges, they're not going to stay sharp for 7 to 10 years. Unless they use it very seldomly. Those will dull in about 2 to 5 years. Why do you think? Because the edge is all the way through. The double Ds are lifted, that's why we could say 7 to 10 years. So what I would do is when you're showing them, say, hey, this one right here on average will stay sharp for about 2 to 5 years, but if you use it on a board, you're going to dull it faster, and you'll probably need it sharpened or serviced every year or 2. So that's why you want to peel and use it in the air. What's the word we're going to say on every appointment? Strictly. Strictly, right? Because then it basically creates that I'm supposed to use it for this, but not this. Here's a great little line. I learned this back in the day. Mrs. Jones, the #1 cause of injuries using a knife is using it for the wrong task or the wrong job. There isn't one knife that does everything.